What's going on, everyone? This is Todd coming at you with another episode of Living Your Best Life. And of course, just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are in the universe right now. Before we get on to the show, I want you to like the show. Hit the like button below. Hit the subscribe button below. All right? Let us know how much you appreciate the individuals that we're bringing to you to help you live your best life. So bottom line, everyone, this is what we do on the show. We invite professionals on to talk about what they do and how what they do is contributing to a healthier society, a wealthier society, just a better society in general, right? That's what we ultimately want, especially in these days and times. We need better. We truly, truly need better. And so, we have an awesome guest coming onto the show this afternoon or this morning or whenever you are watching the show. Dr. Richard Chen, okay, all the way from the West Coast of Focused Wellness. Dr. Richard Chen is, of course, now I think there's a shift going on in the medical community where doctors are actually opening up more to an integrative more holistic approach in their practice. And so we definitely want to highlight these individuals because yes, these individuals are out there in the trenches, definitely helping us live our best lives in a more holistic way. And we want to make sure that you know about them. So Dr. Richard Chen, he's not only a doctor, but he's also an author. I will be sharing his link in the blog or the comments or what have you, where you can get in contact with him about his book, his website, all that information. But anyway, everyone, Dr. Richard Chen of Focused Wellness is going to be taking the spotlight today. So make sure that you get his information, you listen in, and get in contact with him, okay? If you have any questions. But before we get on to that, the challenge is always going. So I want you to get on those live webinars, all right? What challenge are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the Well Beyond 50 Reset Challenge, okay? For anyone that is well beyond 50 and want to stay well beyond 50, then definitely, you need to check out what we're doing here at the at Todd's Health Zone here with our Well Beyond 50 Reset Challenge. Alrighty, so everyone, thank you so much. And I'll see you on the other side of this 30-second commercial with our guest, Dr. Richard Chen of Focused Wellness. Y'all take care and see you on the other side. Be good. Peace. So welcome back, everybody. Listen, like I said in the commercial, we want to make sure that you check out the next webinar because we will be starting up our next Well Beyond 50 Reset Challenge. So if you are that population that's looking to get well and stay well beyond 50, then you definitely want to check us out and see what we're up to. We're getting people to move more. We're helping people build a better relationship with food and just what it means to wrap your mind around what it means to reach 50 and beyond, hopefully. So anyway, like I said, everybody get in on the next webinar. Alrighty. So, but enough about me. I want to get on to this next awesome gentleman that you see here on the left side of me or the right side of me, wherever he is at this point in time. Dr. Richard Chen. He's coming in all the way from the West Coast, and it's kind of probably still a little bit early there, but I thank you so much, Focused Wellness, for hanging out with me for a few minutes. Doc, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. So thank you once again. So, as I have been, over the past couple of weeks when we met, just kind of like, reading a little bit about your journey through medicine and your practice and things like that. I think what you're doing and what you focus on is so awesome. And we're going to dig a little bit into that. But before we get into that, Doc, I would love to know what helped you or what caused you or created in your mind to go from Western type practicing medicine versus kind of like the functional or integrative medicine approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a different story than most people do. I mean, most people talk about health issues, and that's why they did that.
Hmm.
Mine is more food based.
Mm.
So I'm Asian. I like food,
Hmm.
and so my first thing is I took a course called Food as Medicine, which was a novel thought to me as a physician, which is sad to say, because
Hmm.
I was like, wow. I mean, my food does more to me than just calories. It actually does something for me. And when I took that course on food as medicine, I learned about functional medicine. It's like, wow, that sounds pretty interesting. So I studied
Hmm.
functional medicine. And after I studied functional medicine, it's like, this stuff is pretty cool. I mean, I can do stuff to sort of make disease go away or, change the course of disease. And so I learned all this stuff otherwise, in terms of acupuncture, homeopathy, genetics, all that kind of stuff there, because it resonated with me that, I can do more than just prescribe medications.
Hmm.
There's stuff you can do to change the course of disease, to change the origins of disease and stuff. So
Wow, wow. That's awesome. So, do you think that more doctors are opening up to these approaches? Um, I'm curious.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of it's tough because I think, you have to be like, in regular medicine, a lot of it is all based on medications and surgery,
Hmm.
in terms of treatments. And I think if you're happy with that there, if you sort of see that, no, this is fine, that you never open your eyes to other things. Because
Yeah.
everything else that I learned was not taught in medical school. You have to search for it. You have to look for functional
Mm.
medicine. You have to look for nutrition. You have to look for all those stuff there. So you have to sort of like, you have to like say, something's missing what I'm doing here. I want to learn something else. So it all depends whether they see like, that regular medicine is not enough, then they sort of look for other things. And so to me, I was like, once I didn't know about it, but once I learned about it, I was like, wow, this sounds really interesting. I have to explore it, see what's going on. So
Yeah. That's pretty interesting, and I don't want to demonize Western medicine at all. This is not the platform to do that. But when as I see it, and you can definitely expand upon and confirm it or not, but people in my population, meaning 50 and beyond, okay, um, I feel as though we're wanting to get back to wellness again, Doc. That we're
right.
kind of like tired of the prescription and the medication only route. Do you agree with that?
I get that. I mean, I'm definitely 50 and above at this point there and stuff like that. I have my own health issues, and I sort of do the same thing for myself. Because it's sort of like, I think you're it's tiring being on medications and maybe getting a little bit better, but not fully better, perhaps.
Hmm.
And sort of like, you start taking medication every day, and then you have to get the blood test.
Yeah,
It's sort of it's kind of like it's kind of vicious a vicious cycle and stuff. And I
yeah.
think it's like, it's and I agree with you. I mean, I think Western medicine has its place. I mean, definitely there are things that can be done for it there, but I think it's more like different people have different philosophies.
Hmm.
Sometimes some people are like, well, I'm fine with medications. This is great. It's like, well, yeah. Some people are like, well, no, I rather take natural stuff there. I don't want to take more medications and keep on seeing more doctors, more and more specialists and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. So, I would definitely have to think about you as the doctor that is on the preventative side of things and helping people get to a state of wellness. Um, but when it comes to food, and this is another thing that I've been, reading up on too, and you can elaborate or disagree or agree. I would love to know. But the foods that we eat now, highly processed for the most part. Now, are we getting the same nutrients? That's been my thing with regards to even the foods that are in the outer perimeters of the grocery store, the fruits, the vegetables, and things like that. Are we still getting the nutritional value from the foods that today that we used to get versus what we used to get back in, 50 years ago?
yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, I think the food stuff is more of a foundational thing for our system. And definitely I would say eating at the periphery is always good, in terms of eating less processed foods, the fruits, the vegetables, and all that stuff there. But even then, I mean, they said that the quality of the foods we're eating, even if it's non-processed, is less than before. The quality of the soil has changed. I mean, the fruits and vegetables grow in soil and the soil quality is depleted, that affects the quality of the food too.
Mhm.
And so even though we're not getting the same kind of food that we had before. And even if it's organic wise, it's still affected by the other, by the non-organic vegetables nearby, stuff like that. So it's like the quality of food in general, even if even if you're eating it for free, it's probably not as good as it should be and stuff actually. So
Yeah, do you think there's like in Taiwan, and you can tell me whether or not is has the food has it been Americanized? You know, and it,
yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I was born in Taiwan, but I haven't been really connected very much. The last time I was back there a couple of years ago, and I went there as a visitor because I'd been so
yeah.
long ago there. So I would sort of say it's hard to say, but I would sort of say in general, it's like, it's probably true of all agriculture in general. I mean, just, the quality of food has changed just
Hmm.
because of, the world has changed. I mean,
Yeah.
is our Earth the same it was 100 years ago? It's definitely not the same. So yeah. So
Yeah, so with that in mind, are we fighting an uphill battle? Because uh, if because it seems like it would be just easier to settle and just say, whatever.
yeah, I mean, I think I think it's more about like, you can look at it in terms of like ease or in terms of what your goals are and stuff. Because,
Hmm.
I mean, it's always easier to sort of like go with the flow. But is
Yeah.
it better? I'm not sure if it's better to go with the flow. I mean, it's like if you have, decreasing food quality and you sort of say, well, this convenience food is a lot easier than anything I have to cook. Let's go for the flow and let's eat, let's eat ultra processed food. Like, yeah, it's easy, very, very, very time effective, but your health will be affected eventually. And so
Hmm.
it's like, it's not about convenience. It's more about, if you're aiming for health, it may require more work, but hopefully that will show up in terms of the effort, in terms of what shows up in your health wise, in terms of, less medications, less hospital stays, less doctor visits and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So with regards to your practice, because what I do, who I'm speaking with now with regards to my business is the population that's 50 and beyond. And so when you reach that age, you've done whatever a lot of damage possibly,
yeah, 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 yeah,
you've been kicked in the teeth,
yeah,
you've eaten the wrong things, you've drunk the wrong drinks, and so now it's a matter of trying to recorrect some of those habits.
yes.
Um, are you within your practice, are you dealing with that aging population that's looking for those answers?
Yeah, I would sort of say, the way the human body works, like, we have health as a youth, and then as time goes on, our body accumulates things and usually not accumulates the wrong things. And then so we start having disease patterns show up in our system.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, that is basically, I see probably more a little bit elderly population, some young people too, and so they're. But I would say mostly, it's more again as we get older, things get more thing. And so what I do is I sort of look at their issues, correct some habits perhaps there, and maybe they have other infections going on there that need to be taken care of. Maybe they have some genetic issues that sort of predispose them toward illness, and sort of I try to correct those issues because
Hmm.
it's all about sort of like it's partly lifestyle changes, but also changing the body by using either supplements or changing some emotional patterns. They're all things that we have to sort of make things better because whatever we may have kind of like we may develop habits which helped us in our earlier life because we had to. But usually those habits were helpful at the time, but usually those habits sometimes later on are kind of dysfunctional and kind of are not really helping us. And we have to change those habits. Otherwise, we will just keep on going downhill and stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah. And that's, like I was saying, is sometimes what I've run across or come across is the downhill personality that doesn't prioritize health because it seems to be just a little bit more work than what they are willing to do. And it's not as fun, you know. I mean, party guys like us, Doc, we we partied when we were younger. I know you're a real party guy when you were young. I can see
Yeah,
it.
I know. I drank all those water.
Exactly. It's kind of interesting when my wife and I go out, to a function or whatever, I always end up getting like a ginger ale and orange juice. And it looks like a real drink, you know,
Right, right,
because
right, right.
because I don't drink, and so, but like I said, that neither here nor there, a little bit off, but like I was saying, it's so much easier for the population because we haven't been taught that health is a priority, that we should take care of ourselves. We've kind of like handed it over to the doctor and say, doctor, tell me what to do. And the doctor says, take this pill. But you are coming to say, okay, now that you've done that, here's what I want you to do lifestyle wise. And that's the resistance, that even with my clients in terms of weight loss and or personal training, that it's the work that's involved. Um, what is not to say that there's a compliance, you know, or success number that you see in your practice, but do you face resistance when it comes to lifestyle change, when it comes to dealing with and working with the general population?
Well, my population I see is people who've been sick usually. So they don't usually come to me because they're well. So they usually come to me
Hmm.
because they're sick. And so when they're sick, they have a little bit
Well,
higher
why?
motivation because
Yeah,
they want to get better.
got it.
And so most people are pretty highly motivated, and which is what I need because as you mentioned before, the model that you and I work with, it seems like, is like, it's like they have to be partners in terms of health. They
Yeah,
have to be involved in what's going on there. I can't just give them a supplement and say, "Hey, well, take this supplement, you'll be fine." Like, well, no, you have to do stuff. You
yeah,
have to maybe change how you do things, maybe change the environment. You have to change how you eat there and stuff there. And so, but I think so. But I would sort of say yes. If people who are more motivated, I can do more for them because if they come in and say, I have all these like issue one, two, three, and four, but I don't want to do anything about it. You just tell me what to do, and I'll take your supplement, but I really don't do anything else. Like, well, it's like,
hmm,
I'm not quite sure how this is going to work because
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
it's not like it does require more work, but hopefully you get
yeah,
more results as a result of that work there, perhaps. So,
yeah. Yeah, I was just speaking with a gentleman this morning who is he's actually in Astoria, Queens, and his blood pressure is fine. He's about 61 years old. But he needs to lose about 50 pounds because if you know anything about Astoria, Queens, it's got a lot of restaurants around there.
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and so whether or not he will adhere to a program because his numbers are fine, you know. So like I said, but because he's reading the blood pressure number doesn't mean that his gut health isn't, you know. Now, are you able to tell, and in your practice, are you able to kind of like find out where people's what their status is when it comes to gut health, um, things of that nature?
Yeah, totally. I think there are specialty lab tests that can do to check for gut health wise. And I think the
Hmm.
gut health is very underappreciated because I think it's actually from my training and learning wise, I think it's sort of like the final common pathway through which
Hmm.
everything expresses itself. Everything goes through the gut. And so it's sort of like, you can do sort of like, specialty testing to check, in terms of like how your digestion is working, how your stomach acid is working, how your gallbladder is working, whether you have the right bacteria, whether you have the wrong bacteria. So that is important wise, and it's sort of like, I do that quite often, and sometimes it's more just based on changing lifestyle, but the gut is
Yeah,
always important there itself.
yeah.
That's yeah. So
So what are your thoughts on stress in society? Because we live in a society where we're constantly being bombarded with information, and a lot of that information is going to be negative. And so we're surrounding ourselves with, a stressed out environment where cortisol levels are probably peaking at the wrong time. times, if not. So what are your thoughts on stress in an
Yeah,
individual?
that's a good question. I mean, I think, I mean, basically in terms of how the body works, and, the body either stress, everybody's gonna be stressed. I mean, basically the only time you're not stressed is when you're dead, basically. So
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be stressed. But the question is, how much stress should it be? Because if your body's like, it's too stressful over time, your body can sort of like, it compensates for it, but at some point decompensates. And
Hmm.
so it's all about managing stress. And stress is not just emotional. Everything that happens to your body is either stress or not stress. An allergy is a stress. Having
Hmm.
an infection is a stress. Dealing with a bad environment is stress. So it's when I look at it as stress, I look at it as more like a broad function in terms of stress is not just, you always think, oh, just I'm stressed because of a bad day at home at work. It's like, well, no, it's more than that. It's like when your body has a bad day, when your mind has a bad day, that's stress. And so it's all about managing that there. I mean, a lot of times it's been pretty interesting because I've been dealing with the emotional stress. One of my specialties, I deal with people who are more emotionally aware. And what I see quite often is like, people have been like gone through everything. They've taken care of their body as much as they can, stuff that there. Then I realized they have a lot of emotional stress. Maybe
Hmm.
they're emotionally aware. They have a lot of emotional trauma because if you feel a lot, you feel a lot, and
Hmm.
so you can get hurt a lot from emotions. And then I deal with those emotional trauma, and then that's basically their form of stress. By decreasing that emotional stress, they're like your system clears up quite a bit. So you realize stress is very, very important, and it's like emotional stress is just as important as anything else, but everything can be stressful. And so yeah.
Yeah, and there you go. I mean, you're not thinking about emotional stress being, one of the more potent types of stresses that we put on ourselves. Um, because like I said, if you're tied in or connected with the internet or whatever the media, then you are probably tied into some type of a stress that's going to trigger some emotional response. And when we are so high, you know, when it comes to stress, do our bodies get used to it, and then we don't even recognize it as stress anymore? Because it seems like sometimes we use a stressor to actually feel better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
it's a good point. I mean, I think, our body normalizes things. If you had high stress for, a period of time, you're used to that. Maybe you like that little bit. That's the kind of maybe you're a stress junkie and you like that level of
yeah,
feeling kind of on the edge a little bit more and stuff there. When that goes down, you're like, what
yeah, you
happened?
don't know how to handle
I
that.
needed that little push. Maybe I need that little bit of caffeine stuff like that because I need that there and stuff like that. And so yeah, I mean, our bodies like our body is meant to sort of like normalize things, and that could be good or bad. Like, because if you
Hmm.
start normalizing high stress environments, that's not good, right? Just like
Yeah,
people who come from abusive environments, they sort of normalize that abusive environment. They're used to like feeling being getting put down all the time. And it's like, okay, that's normal. It's like, well, that's normal for you, but it's not good for you, right?
yeah,
And so we
yeah,
want to like it's not about normalizing what's the best thing for you there because it's like normal is can be so relative, and we don't
yeah.
want to normalize things that are bad for us. And so that's
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. So Doc, you are an author,
yes,
and I definitely, you have a really unique approach of looking at the overall uh, complex of our wellness, our bodies, with regards to the wheel of health. And
yes.
if you don't mind sharing with us a little bit about that approach and a little bit about your book too.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for asking me that. So, it's interesting because what I've said is kind of pretty common in functional integrated medicine, but it's how I put it together, which is kind of I thought it's interesting. So basically, what the wheel of health is like, so, there's like seven, eight factors that sort of affect our health. Our mind, our teeth, our gut, our adrenals, which deal with stress, our environment, and in terms of infections, in terms of hormones. So those are all pretty common factors going on there. But I sort of created a biochemical pathway. I mean, I didn't create a biochemical pathway, but it's based on a biochemical pathway on the body. And so like it's sort of like putting all the factors that we have that are known there and sort of putting it into a system And I use that system to get people better, so I know it works. And it basically was like, I mean, you have to be pretty comprehensive when you look at people's health. Because a lot of times
Hmm.
people come in, it's like, oh, I have this issue, I'm diabetic. It's like, well, it's only my food, right? Because that's one thing that affects my sugars, right? Well, no,
Hmm.
maybe it's related to the fact that been accumulating chemicals for the last 40 years or something like that there. So it's trying to look at everything in a holistic point of view and try to look at everything going on there and stuff. And so I created that model a couple of years back when I was studying the heme pathway. And then I wrote a book about it, and the book is on Amazon. It's called New Way to Health.
Okay.
And it basically talks about the way the book is set up is it sort of describes each trigger that I talk about. And I usually have a case story of a person I used that specific trigger to make somebody better. And it took a while to write the book. It was like a year or so because there's a lot of
Mhm.
procrastination. But I'm glad I wrote it. Yeah.
I wrote a book a few years ago called "No Wonder I'm Fat,"
You
and
wonder what?
no wonder I'm fat.
Oh, okay, okay, nice. Okay.
And it's really a book about how to get off the weight loss roller coaster. And like yourself, it was just so tedious to me. It's like, and so whenever I have to sit down and actually, focus on something, it's like, okay, because my mind is always on different things, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so it's always a challenge. But it was a really tedious process, but I enjoyed it, after the aftermath. And
Yeah.
so you can find the book again on Amazon, right? Your book on Amazon.
Yes, yes,
Good
yes.
deal. Good deal. Good deal. So, there are some other things that I want to chat with you about, Doc, because this is something that I had to deal with, I guess, to a degree. Probably 2023, I got COVID, right?
Okay.
And so, the COVID, whatever strain it was, lasted, 4 to 6 days or whatever, 10
Yeah,
days
yeah.
after that. But the long COVID effects
Hmm.
is, what I had to deal with because never before had I experienced tachycardia.
Hmm.
And so all, things like that. Working out one day, and I was just getting back into my workout routine. And all of a sudden, my heart rate just shot up.
Wow.
And this was, like I said, about maybe a week or week and a half or so after my COVID bout. And so I gave
Okay.
it a little bit of time. Started out slow, but decided to progressively, amp it up a little bit more. And so, like I said, after that, one time I was working out, and after that, my heart rate just shot up. And so, is I say the doctors were telling me long COVID.
Right.
And so I don't know the actual, so I'm just going by what they said. Because the heart had no, they didn't see anything wrong with my heart or anything like
Sure.
that. And they did, all the scans, everything, didn't say anything. So do you, are there treatments for long COVID issues?
Yeah, and there is. Actually, I'll speak first to I'll speak to the big issue, but I have somebody who actually had that response with a heart rate too. And I'll tell you what I
Mhm.
did. But I would sort of say in general, COVID is not a good thing. And sort of it affects our body, it can affect our circulation, it can affect our circulation is everywhere, so it can affect any part of the body wise. And so I would sort of say the approach that I would use is like, Independent Medical Alliance is a big, they were before called Frontline Critical Care Alliance, but
Mhm.
they did a lot with COVID stuff there. And I follow their stuff and I think they're quite useful there and stuff. But I would also say, the COVID usually makes things worse. It's a stressor to our system. And so usually if there's pre-existing health issues, it makes it worse too. And so to me, it's like trying to take care of the COVID issue, but you also have to take care of the pre-existing health issues because usually the pre-existing health issues are worsened by COVID. And so
Hmm.
then the body, the way the body works is it's sort of like the straw that broke the camel's back. You know,
Mm.
something happens on top of it, then everything falls apart.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
oh, it's just one little thing falls apart. No, everything falls apart.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's sort of like a sort of rebuilding the whole engine and stuff that of the car and stuff like that because you have to fix everything. Um,
Yeah.
and I would sort of say I had a lady who actually had something with the COVID and she had a car accident afterwards. She had this thing where, same thing like you, like she would well walk and then her heart rate would go up, then she would actually almost faint, basically. So like her heart rate would go up, but her blood pressure would go down. So it was not working right.
Mm.
And I saw that as like a nervous system issue. And there's
Yeah.
something I do, it's called neurotherapy, which is a nervous system issue studied in Germany. And I actually treated her heart, not by treating the heart directly, by treating the heart indirectly on the skin. And it actually helped quite a bit there and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
there's interesting that there are treatments out there which we don't know about, which are not well known, which are quite effective, actually. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. 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 Like I said, I had never experienced anything like that before. And that's, especially when you're in the midst of it, it freaks you out. It's just like, you know,
yeah.
yeah, especially when you are so used to working out and you think that you're eating the right things and all these things are in place, and then this happens and it just it turns your world upside down. But yeah, so and I didn't know if the studies on long COVID where they were, if they were defunded and they're not putting as much funding behind it to try to learn more about it, or if they're still trying to learn more about the effects of long COVID.
Yeah, I don't know. I try not to pay too much attention to politics these days. It's kind of demoralizing to me. So,
Yeah.
but I would sort of say, there's still people out there. I mean, it's not just the United States working on this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
a worldwide issue,
Well,
and so there's other countries working on this too, and so that there, I think there's a lot of literature out there, which are it's it's there's more protocols out there. There's more thoughts about what's causing it and stuff. I mean, definitely, the spike protein is part of the issue there, but again, it's also other issues there too. And there's
yeah.
different treatments that can be quite helpful there. There's
Yeah.
stuff like nicotine, there's LDN, there's all this other stuff there. There's different stuff out there that can be helpful, but it's more about like it's not none of them are like silver bullets. You have to use like an overall strategy.
Yeah.
It's not like okay, let's throw this one thing and see what happens. Like, well, no, you have to figure out what's going on in the
Right.
body and sort of partner with the body to make things better. And so that's yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Well, thanks for that, Doc. That was kind of a personal thing, from my
Sure thing.
from
Sure thing.
my curiosity there. And one last thing that I did was, what that I want people to know about with regards to what you treat and how you treat things, and that's pain management. Because I haven't normally dealt with a lot of pain over the years.
Right.
So I don't know, but I do run into, clients that do deal with pain issues.
Sure.
And is pain a more of a natural aging process, or is it something that just, years I did something to my knee, I hit my knee, and here we are.
I would sort of say pain usually is something we can do something about.
Okay.
A lot of people sort of like normalize pain. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting old, and so I'm supposed to get this pain. It's like, well, no, that's not true. I mean, because you're having pain because something is going on. And
Yeah.
so, it could be either thing. I mean, they could have most pain is from nerves. That's how you feel pain. You can treat nerves directly wise. You can also treat the nervous system directly wise. So, I mean, I talked about neural therapy treating the nervous
Mhm.
system. There's something called PIT, perineural injection therapy, that treats the nerves directly. And so, if you can touch a pain, you can treat it with PIT. And
Mm.
so, I mean, I've seen people who seen pain doctors and got them better, and because these therapies are not really well known, but they're internationally well known, and they're quite helpful. And so I would sort of say, see a practitioner who does either neural therapy or PIT, perineural injection therapy, and those are two therapies that can be quite helpful actually. So. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Well, thanks for that because, like I said, I don't normally deal with pain to the scale to what I hear, clients come to me about. And thank God that I don't have to deal with those types of things. I guess I haven't normalized it or what have you.
That's good.
But yeah, but like I said, this pain thing, and in the world now, when people are just trying to get through the day, you know, without feeling too much pain, and I don't want to exist that way, you know.
No, I think people who I see in pain, like it runs their life, right? They
Yeah,
can't do their
yeah,
they can't do their hobbies anymore and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah.
it's not fun having pain rule your life, and so.
Exactly, exactly. So, Doc, where can we find you, man? Just give us all your website information, as we'll see it also down below. But I just definitely want you to say it.
Yeah, so I have a medical license in Massachusetts, California, and New York. And in the other states, I can still offer education, but it can't go through health insurance wise and
Mhm,
stuff.
mhm.
And I would sort of say that my website is focusedwellness.net. My short form is drfw.net. And people are welcome to sort of they can book 30-minute free intro visits to talk to me about their health issues there and stuff. And then when if I think I can help them, then we usually do an hour and a quarter visit to sort of work things through and figure out what's going on, basically. They can also contact me through that website as well, too. So
All right, awesome, awesome. Well, Doc, thank you so much, my man, for giving me a few minutes of your day, and just to kind of like I wanted to share you with my audience, just so they can know that you are out there and that you are a trooper and they are someone that's out in the trenches, helping us live our best lives. So once again, I want to say thank you for coming out and hanging out with us for a little bit.
thank you for having me on. It was my pleasure.
Yes, yes. So everybody, listen, make sure that you check out Dr. Richard Chen on his website and also check out his book. Really unique approach to your health and wellness. So that's what we're all about here. We're about all things health, we're about all things wellness, and we're simply just helping people live their best lives. And like I said, if you're well beyond 50 like myself and you want to stay well beyond 50, then you definitely want to make sure that you reach out to this gentleman here. And so once again, you guys, y'all take care and have a wonderful, wonderful week. It's Monday for us, but you might see this on Friday. So wherever you are in the week, you have a wonderful week or day or whatever. Y'all take care and catch you guys later. Be good. Bye-bye.